Hey fam, it's Mariah, and welcome to Calvary Conversations, where we simplify God's word to reach today's culture by casting down arguments through real, radical testimonies and biblical conversations. Now let's get started. Welcome to Calvary Conversations. My name is Mariah, and today I'm finally back with my dad, Pastor Craig Roders. Woo! He is here. It's been a while, like a long while.
I'm so shy.
Yes. But he has been recovering from being sick. So give him some grace if he's not feeling well. But today we have a special guest with us. She has been in the studio before. We've known her for many, many years. And
How long have you been here now?
Yeah, how many?
Be 17 in March.
Wow.
17 years.
Faithful.
Shirl, Lamonna. Woo! Yeah, we have to introduce her. You kind of killed my... I'm kidding. But 17 years here at Calvary. And yeah, I think I remember you were my Sunday school teacher when I was growing up.
Probably because Teresa got me into Sunday school almost immediately.
That's great. Yep. And we did a podcast before, and we were talking about just what was going on with the elections and everything, because how did you get into, studying all this stuff and researching, and just, you can share just a little bit of how you got into that.
I never was involved at all in politics back in Pennsylvania. And when I moved here, it was during the Clinton and Obama primaries. And TV was on. All of a sudden I thought, you better start paying attention. This is going to dramatically change what's going on in this country. And so I did. I had to spend a lot of time educating myself by watching the history because whatever. But anyway, I am pleased to say that I did become involved with it all, and I'm happy to share whatever information people are interested in hearing.
Yes, and you're very gracious to us, because I'm like, Shirl, can you please be on? You're like, I don't know, I don't really want to. And I'm like, please, you know so much that we don't know. Yeah, we need your help. So for those who don't know, when is the next election?
November the 8th.
Yep.
Ballots are out. If you do mail-in ballots, they are, you can take those ballots into an early voting center if you're interested in doing that. The early voting centers will open up on Monday, the 24th. Up in our area, Ora Valley Library is the only one. So you can drop it there, and I would recommend that even if you have the mail-in ballot, that you put it in a drop box at a vote center.
Yes.
Now, can I ask you that? So, because I've heard so many, and you never know, and I was asking Jeff Self about that. So they say sometimes those aren't counted, but will it be better? Is it have a better chance of being counted? Like, they only count if it's really close, but election integrity, we don't know about that. But it's like, is it better? Because I dropped mine off last time, my mail-in, I dropped it off at the Ora Valley Library. Is that a lot safer in your opinion?
It's safer in the regard of security. If you mail your ballot, it goes through 14 different hands unobserved from the time the ballot is printed to the post office, back and forth, and all that stuff. So if you take it to a vote center, all the ones in Pima County are indoors and they're manned. So you don't have mules delivering ballots anywhere. And so it's safer that way. And then it'll get down to the processing center, and they'll start with the verification process of your signature and the other things that they do there.
Now, do you recommend voting in person? Is that what you would recommend?
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a chance to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't do it. Kevin did, but we have our mail-in, so.
I switched before 2020.
Yeah.
And, but again, even people that are poll voters can still go to an early vote center and vote ahead.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
Well, okay, so the next question for those who are like, what's the big deal with this next election, and why should I even vote? This is not like we're voting for the president, so why should I vote?
Well, this is a pretty crucial year.
Yeah.
This it's really our duty as Christians, and it's a privilege to vote in this country. And our voices are just very crucial too, because if we don't vote, we don't keep biblical values. And if you look at the statistics, there's something like 15 million people that are supposedly Christian that don't even vote. And then another 40 million on My Faith Votes. They said 40 million often don't even vote in a presidential election.
Wow.
And then you heard too, if they voted, we would dominate. If everyone would vote biblical values, we'd dominate.
Absolutely.
So that's just, so when someone complains to me how crazy this country is, and then I'll say, so you vote? No. Like, you have no right to complain whatsoever.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Nope.
And I'm to the point of saying, just voting isn't even enough. You have to get involved.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's big, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
harder than you.
And I like what John Quincy, the best quote I heard was John Quincy Adams said that, and the ex-president said, God calls us to do our duty, and the results are up to him.
Yes.
So even if it's rigged,
Right.
you do your best. And I like what one person said. I don't know who it was. It was Charlie Kirk. Someone said, but if it was Jack Hibbs, vote and come out so strong that it's hard for them to change
Yes.
it. So
Yes.
dominate.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, we kind of already asked this, but how important is this next election, and what does it mean to vote biblically as a Christian for those who are Christians out there and they're like, I still don't understand what the big deal is.
Can you be a Democrat and still be a Christian?
Yeah. Yeah. You'll get canceled for saying that.
Well, we have a lot of problems this year. Some would call them crises. We've got the problems at the border. We have economy, inflation. Our gas prices
Biden
are
said
up.
there was no inflation. You don't believe that?
We have all the religious freedom issues. I mean, you know better than me even what happened with Pastor McClure over in California when they tried to shut down the church. We've got problems in our schools and freedom of speech. People are being censored. So, not to mention all the moral issues that are out there. So we can't ignore them. We can't afford to do that anymore. People have sat back and not wanted to get involved with it, but you have to really take the stand. And the question about, well, what's it mean to vote biblically? I had to look through to find some commentary on that because you know in your heart, based on your teaching, what is right and wrong.
Yeah.
And yet you can't necessarily put it into words. So what one of the commentaries says was, look what the qualifications were for the elders in First Timothy. And they said, evaluate the character by being, the person should be above reproach, faithful to his wife, temperate, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, able to teach, not given to drunkenness, not violent, not quarrelsome, not a lover of money. He manages his own family well, and he must do so in a manner worthy of full respect. So if you apply those qualifications or qualities to someone that you're going to vote for, you can pretty well
eliminates a lot.
nix a lot of them.
Especially lover of money. I laughed at that one. I was like, wow.
So
I love how people come in, never had a real job, and yet they leave with millions of dollars. How does that, like our president and his son, how does that happen? You haven't had a job.
So I kind of start with, well, what's their party?
Yeah.
What words are they saying?
Yeah.
And then what's their behavior? Just, to keep it simple, that's kind of what you look at, determine what their values are. Are they shared with us by the biblical values or not?
Yeah.
And that's a good start.
Yeah.
So
how would, for us who are little dummies in these things, what are resources, like what do you look for when you're trying to know who a specific candidate is, especially in our district? Because a lot of times I've seen some people, they were like, oh, I want to vote for this person. And they're like so excited because they're hearing all this stuff. And they're like, I can't even vote for them. They're not in my district. So they get really excited. But how does one find that?
Well, we get voter guides in the mail.
Yep.
We get the Clean Election Voter Guide. So they're usually pretty much what I start with. If you actually go online for azvoterguide.com, you can put in your address and your name, and they will give you a listing of only the candidates that you can vote for. So they tell you what district you're in and who these candidates are, and then you can click on the candidate's name and
see their record.
not their record, but it shows what their responses were to the questions that are in the book. And when you're looking at the book, you're back and forth. So this way, you just pull up that person and you can read not only the answer, support or don't support, but also any special comments that they made. And it's rather interesting with some of them, because I happen to notice there's an individual that's running for the Corporation Commission, Arizona Corporation Commission. So they do, utilities. And some of the comments that they made, which really are not ever applicable to the position, but basically they're saying, well, that's absurd. This is a ridiculous question, like sexual gender identity, things like that, so they're never going to vote on it. But, I would imagine that some people would read that and think, well, I can't vote for him. But
he believes they're spilling
to Christians, we go, oh, well, that makes sense to us.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So you kind of answered the next question, but the best way to look up your district, which you said, go to the Arizona Voter Guide. And then, you could even just put in just your zip code, I'm assuming.
It has a special, what's called a personalized guide. And so there you put your name, your address, zip code, and it pops right up.
And then, how to find the best candidates in your specific district. Meaning, because I think a lot of people, I know young adults too, that's why they get intimidated sometimes to get into all this stuff, because they're like, all the people who don't have, the young adults seem like they're the busiest, but we know we're all busy. But what is a way, just like user-friendly, to figure out like the candidates that you would vote for biblically, and like seeing like, okay, these are important issues and then these aren't? What are some that you would say like really focus on this, like this is an important issue, and then these, I wouldn't say not so much, but what are the important things to look for in a candidate?
Well, in my opinion, this year the biggest thing is the economy. And all you have to do is look at the gas prices when you go to a gas pump. Look at what's happening to your parents, if you're that young, their 401ks if they're still working, or the financial markets.
I've only lost $32,000 this year.
Yeah, go to the grocery store. You can see everything has skyrocketed. Yeah. And yet the spending has not stopped. I mean, how many trillions of dollars have we spent that we don't have? So if that's a key issue to you, then you need to look at candidates who are going to cut back on spending, number one, and really take a hard stance on that, because, we need to do something to open up our resources here in this country.
Yeah. I always say my thing is, if it's good that I don't run for any government office because everyone would hate me, but I say every senator, since there's only 100 of them, should have had to have a business that made a profit for at least 5 years. So I know profit and loss, because at his church, we still have to run like a business in sense of financial. And if we don't have money, we have to cut back. We can't just spend and say, oh, we'll print some money, Kevin. We have to, and that's what I think, because people have never had that, never ran a business, don't understand. You don't just get to go, okay, let's tax the people more. You have to live within your means. And, I think that should be, that'd be a great mandate to say you've had to have proven yourself that you could make a profit and understand a P&L. So
yeah. But in terms of the moral issues, which may be more applicable to the kids, what are they being taught in school?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're probably not being taught critical thinking or what the original intent was of the Constitution. No, they're being indoctrinated. They're being told that, there's more than two genders, and even one of the, I don't know if it was American physicians or something, they say that that's ridiculous. It's what did they call it? Some kind of abuse. Believing that they can change the gender is child abuse. American College of Pediatricians.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard some on that with, I heard that the drug, I can't remember the name of it now, but they're giving to 12 and 13-year-olds to change. That was proposed to give to pedophiles because it would do kind of chemical castration and give them so much estrogen, they'd have no real desire sexually. That's what we're giving to 12 and 13-year-olds. That they said was inhumane to give to a pedophile.
Right.
I mean, that's backwards.
That's totally
insanity.
backwards. Yeah.
That's insanity.
So, yeah.
That's just, I mean, we become so smart. Our brains, we're so open-minded, our brains have leaked out. I mean, we, like you said, critical thinking. We don't go, wait a second. If we don't give this to a pedophile, why are we giving this to a 12 or 13-year-old? And the effects, I mean, people have had the sex change, the depression, the suicide rate. Very few people are like happy. Oh, this is great. They're like, what have I done? And you don't get to, it's not an easy reverse, you know. And so, and I guess infection, there's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't hear that because they try to make it, sanitize it. But yeah, so it's, and I love even Bill Maher said, this is Bill Maher, the liberal. This is crazy. Kids, what do they know? You're going to let a 12 or 13 or 14-year-old decide their gender at that age? They don't know anything. You know, maybe if you're 25, maybe, you know. But anyway, you know, I mean, Bill Maher is saying that.
Right,
that's my point.
Yeah, that's.
So he's even saying, he goes, we're pushing people to really go towards Trump. He just said that. And I mean, it's pretty wild when you see someone so liberal is saying, we're going too far.
Yeah.
I mean, so I've been listening to him just to hear some of the sane comments he's being forced to make.
Right.
He's so crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
And there, I think it was in Texas I read about this morning where the school district, it was Vermont. The teachers are being told that they need to abide by whatever pronoun the child wants.
Wow.
And the teachers are not to tell the parents about it.
That's
So they want total control of the children.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep.
And like what Hitler said, control the classroom, you control the next generation. I mean, we have to, it's just, I would say, there's so, I don't know if you heard the thing of the Charlie Kirk talking about the Great Reset, you know, the book, I forget, by the German guy, but it just makes sense, all this, because they say, you know, and the big thing, like you said, financial, because they're saying, you know, all this wokeness is taking time, but you destroy a country financially, you can take it over quickly. It prepared it for like the for what we believe the one world ruler, Antichrist, biblically. And so that's where we're headed towards. They want to destroy this country. And it's just weird. You think, how could, but they believe, right? All the high up billionaires believe they'll be, you know, we'll eliminate the spendable masses, us, but then we'll keep the 2 billion and we'll have our servants. And it's just weird to you just go, no, but that's what, and he says it's in there. You can read it. It's right there. They're saying it. They want to collapse America because they said the two things that are holding us back is the church, and sadly that's going down. You know, a lot of churches aren't preaching. Remember, I said only about 38% of churches are preaching the word or have a biblical worldview. So we wonder where we're at. It's because of the church, how they know us, the preacher sent, or like you said, speak up. Christians speaking up and voting biblical values. But they say that's what they're trying to do. So they're trying to get rid of the church or lose, you know, censor the church, and then try to destroy the economy. And then they say America being such an influential thing to the world that they want to destroy us economically. And remember, Obama would say that, why, you know, apology tour, that basically America needs to be crushed, you know. And I heard someone just today say that he said, you know, how he was, you know, finally got a break in America. And I heard, what's the black lady who's on Owens, Candace Owens said, he goes, I think his total worth is 140 million. And he goes, man, if that's oppression, I want some of that.
That's funny.
Anyway.
And it makes sense why they're also trying to make it like the economy like messed up, because every parent is having to work now, so they're not able to homeschool. They're not able to have like and then when they come home, they're having to take all their time to be like, what did you learn? What's going on? Like
Which
for
they
at
don't
least
probably a lot
Christian
of times.
families. So it's like they also want that control to where they can't homeschool. There's no private schooling. Like, I mean, the sad thing for me is that like the homeschool option for a lot of people, it's not an option, because just to survive with the cost of living, you kind of need both parents to work. Yeah. And so what would you say also? And
didn't Hillary propose, I think, a 6-day school week? Did you hear that? She talked about that. So, I mean, it went over like a lead balloon, but she wanted that for talking about control. Can you imagine only seeing your kid only having one day, and then no one go to church because they have their one day to do it?
Yeah. And what are some other things? So we talked about all the craziness with the gender, but other things happening in the school boards that, before we get into like who we should vote for school board members, what would you say?
Well, we have the boys doing girls sports, being in their locker rooms, and you know, it has to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, when you're 12 or 13, 14, to have a male in there while you're getting dressed and undressed. And so that's an issue. And it's
And that's proven in when Biden, says he's for women's rights, but when he allowed the inmates to go into women's prison, they're getting raped. I'm like,
exactly.
if you have male genitalia, you're a male, and you don't get to. If you're going to call yourself a woman, then you need to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying. I mean, that's just that would. You think even they would say that? Like,
Right.
how can you represent to go to a female prison and then now you're raped? I mean, it's just like I said.
Where are
we
these
become
feminists?
yeah. I was like, and then remember, and I just found this out, Shirl. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was raised a hippie in Oregon. I was New York, and then I went to Oregon. But it's just crazy. I didn't realize this, but libertarian is where we get the word liberal. That's where we get the word liberal. I never heard that until just like
either.
2 weeks ago. And my hippie family was living that live, man. Kind of like Unitarian. Just, you want to smoke dope, do it in your own house. You want to be gay, whatever. And now they're the man. They're the ones pushing it. Like I just said in my head, let me be a gun-toting, Bible-thumping Christian as long as I don't blow up your abortion clinic or do something crazy.
Yeah.
Let me be a nut.
Right.
Just let me be. And they're like, ooh. And I'm like, that's the problem. I said, you become the very thing you said the Republicans were back in the 60s.
Yeah.
I said, just leave us alone. Okay? Let us have free speech and let the best man win.
Right.
Person. But just kidding. But let the best man, let the best idea win. But it's like they just want to and they've become, that's what I think is funny. I mean, not funny, sad, but they were the ones fighting for free speech, the liberals back in the 60s. They were the ones, just let us. Remember, what's his name with Hustler, I forget, Larry Flynn.
Yeah.
Remember who said these crass things about Christianity? He said, hey, that's his First Amendment right. He can say that. And now they're the ones saying censor us. Like, what has happened? They still used to fight for liberals and conservatives for the free speech, but that's how much. I mean, I don't know about you, Shirl. I don't want to ask your age, but remember. I mean, what our parents were. These kids nowadays, this. But I mean, I ask older people. I mean, 80, 90. It is worse than ever before, right? Yeah. They're like, no, this is nuts. I mean, it's nuts. I mean, this is when you really gotta go. A guy can have a baby. And your people who are doctors say, yeah. I mean, that shows we're at a pretty sad state.
Yeah. So Mariah, TUSD had a counselor that organized a drag show, and then after that, she was arrested for having sex with a 15-year-old at the school.
Shocking. Wow.
So so that's bad. And even the Children's Museum of Tucson was going to have a drag show. I think that might have been canceled. I'm not sure about that.
Well, I heard mixed things on that. They just stopped talking about it. But I didn't have a chance to ask some pastor who was praying right that night. They're supposed to have it. But the word was on the street that I heard, I don't know for facts, but was that they just said, and that's what Disney's done. That's what the what do you call it? Netflix, they just say, like, keep the agenda, just shut up. And so it's kind of like they realize they're not ready for the boiling frog. You boil it you throw a frog in boiling water, they'll jump out. If you do it slow, they were, we went too fast, slow down again. Right. So it's not like they're stopping the agenda like the Buzz Lightyear. The opening weekend they were projected to make $130 million. They only made 80. But the fact that they're not stopping, seeing that, that shows when money is not a factor, there's an agenda.
Right.
Because you think you lost $50 million, or Netflix supposedly has lost billions over the last 10 years, and yet they're not stopping. You think they go, America's not ready for this. We need to pull back. No, they don't care anymore.
Who was saying crazy. That about Nike? It's like they don't make as much as.
They're one of the lowest the top companies. They're like
PayPal,
30. They're like 30.
Yeah.
Because they're so woke and they're saying we don't care.
They don't care. Like that's the thing.
And when because they, Cheryl, they say find out where the money's to be made to find the crime. When you don't care about money, it's a satanic agenda because money rules usually everything. But when you go, no, I don't care about money anymore. I just want to push an agenda. You're probably working for somebody. What I mean? That just doesn't make sense, even the fleshly natural realm, because it's all about the money. But they're saying, no, we're willing to sacrifice millions, billions to push our agenda. And that's, like you said, why it's so important to vote for people that will speak up, to speak, and like you've heard me say in the pulpit, to speak. Right? How they know us a preacher sent. We're the preachers. Right? My job is to equip you to do the work of ministry. I'm not to go to pastor, go talk. I was like, no, you talk, because you can go places. Everyone not listening, you can go places that I can't go. You have friendships that I don't have, and we have to say it. And we have to realize, as Jesus said, if they love me, they'll love you. If they hate me, they'll hate you. And you have to see that as an honor, as long as you're not a jerk and misrepresenting Jesus. But if you're speaking the truth and saying, no, there's two sexes, there's male and female, that's what God created, and they hate you, then you're in good company, because they hate Jesus, right? And that's where, right? What did Jesus say? Man seeks man's approval rather than God's. But we should say, hey, I serve one, and I trust those who love Jesus will love me, and that's all I need to worry about. I don't try to please man. I try to please God, and those who love God will love me, right? And so, and we say, you've seen as we go through John how fickle the crowds are, how people will just love it. Jesus, you're great. Hosanna, and then crucify a week later. Like Pilate, I find no fault with this man. I find no fault with this man. But then he crucifies him because of political pressure.
But do you have anything else in the schools that's going on that we don't know? And then how to vote for the school board members?
Well, the school boards, that's a nonpartisan election. A little bit harder to get information if you don't actually go out to any meetings where the candidates are speaking. Sometimes, because they're local, if you email them from their campaign site, they'll respond to you. And after I read the story about the other one with the male in the female bathroom or the female locker room this morning, I decided I was going to write to one to see what the response was. But so far I haven't had any response back on that because I understand it is in one of our schools here.
It is?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Can you imagine that?
No, I can't.
I heard General Boykin. He's with. He said, he goes, and I love these old codgers that make me look like a sissy. But he goes, let's just say this: if my granddaughter is in the locker room and a guy says he's a girl, but he decides to be a guy, trust me, he won't have to worry about a sex change. I was like, wow, like, you really said that? He's a wild man, Yeah.
But
so the school board, they're responsible for choosing curriculum. So that's kind of a key question. You need to really understand what values they have
and what you want taught. Like, what's
it's probably one of multiple different names, but I think it is still being taught in terms of math and English, and the books that they choose these days are not appropriate, and the comprehensive sex ed is pretty big, and that stuff borders on pornographic.
Yeah,
if
we
you see
had
the
our
pictures.
the young kids in our youth group were saying, like, what do I do? They sent a question in the question box. It says, what do I do when I have to read this book that like has all these naked photos and things, but I don't want to, give into any bad things, but I also don't want to fail the class. Like, this is our youth kids are asking. There's middle school, but then a high schooler is reading this book, and she said it's like very sexual and it's gross in every way. And so she was like, but I don't know what to do because they're saying that I have to read this in order to pass.
Did you ever see, do you ever watch J.P. Sears, the redhead guy? Oh, he's a comedian. He was a flaming liberal New Ager, and he's kind of become conservative just because he's seen the insanity. So, I mean, he's not a Christian by any means, but he's pretty, I'd like to hear kind of people that are a little, that have been nuts and kind of to just hear their perspective. But he was saying he does like parodies of kind of joking. So he's a first grade teacher, and he's like, hi, and he's like trans and hair and everything. And he goes, me and my partner are having aggressive sex to try to have a baby. And then he's him again going as a kid, do I need to really know this as a first grade? Yes, you need to know this because you're homophobic. And he just goes, but it's just, and he's like, and the point is why, remember the DeSantis bill was, let's not teach it till what, sixth grade or fifth? I forget it was sixth grade. But they're saying no. It's like, why does someone at first grade need to know about your aggressive sex? That is not. I mean, and what I love is back to the liberal thing. What you do in your bedroom, do it. Remember they said about Clinton? What Clinton does in his bedroom, even though it was the Oval Office. I said it wasn't his bedroom, but it's his thing. why do you have to tell everyone? Why do I have to know what you're doing? That, you see, there's the force of agenda. I don't need to say, me and my wife are, I mean, it's like,
Right.
what?
Right.
Why is that so important? That just shows you're trying to indoctrinate and make this perversion normal. And just say, why, hey, you do your thing. It's your bedroom. As long as you're not grabbing 15-year-old kids, consensual adults. I mean, I say it's wrong, but you have that right? You have the right. I like what Rabbi, before he failed, said, God lets you have free will, but you can't determine the outcome of your free will. But you have free will as a person, as a human being, and we believe that, right? We have free, but don't try to make us say, hey, we can respectfully disagree.
Right.
And that's that's, I don't know about you, but I guess I kind of am a libertarian. I realize that I just let you do what you want, but don't push the agenda.
Right.
Just like you'd say, now they could say, well, the only thing I guess they could respond is, well, you just push the agenda with abortion, but that's murdering someone. That's a different thing, but what you do in your bedroom, that's your prerogative. I mean, could that send you to hell, that lifestyle? Yeah, but you have that right to do that. I shouldn't mandate that, but don't expect me to say two guys are married and it's a biblical marriage. I can say, you can call that a union, whatever you want to call it, but it's not really a biblical marriage because God brought Adam and Eve. He didn't, so anyway, but that's the thing I see is that, but you see, we're trying to teach first graders, you're pushing an agenda.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
there's no reason to that. And you're over sexualizing kids, and like our society needs to be more sexualized, and give me a break. So anyway, but I love how with DeSantis, how they said gay. It said nothing about gay. All it said is, well, let's not teach kids sexual stuff until sixth. I think fifth, or I forget what it was. I think it was sixth grade, and which makes total sense.
Total sense. Yeah. Like kids be kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We do not.
And they have enough stuff on TV to be sexualized. They don't need to be taught in the classroom. Anyway, sorry.
Man.
I said I wouldn't talk, but I lied. So.
How can we find information on which school board members share our biblical views, even though, like you said, it's mainly curriculum and stuff, but how can that even affect
it's
that?
a little bit hard to determine that. I know one of them, I saw this morning, had something on about she was a member of, or did something with that Reform Jerusalem, something like that.
I'm not aware of that.
I don't remember exactly what it was. But, if you look at the websites, kids like to look at websites, right? So educate themselves. There's only, in Amphi School District, there's only 4 people you need to look up. And if you see vague things on there about, I want to do all-day kindergarten and things like that don't really, and I want to get teachers' raises, is that really what matters?
No.
What matters is, what are you teaching the kids?
Exactly.
Yep.
And then what ways can we be involved in the school districts? I know that you can go to meetings and things, but to vote biblical principles in our school systems.
Do you go to the meetings? Have you gone?
I've gone to only one.
See, my thing, I don't mean to be, I want to hear your response to this, to spank me maybe, but I think, and this, I tend to be a New Yorker, I tend to be a little cynical. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but I'm pretty much done with the school. It's like, if you have your kids at a public school, I pretty much think, I've kind of tempted to lose heart in saying, give us the vouchers, let us go to private school, because it's done, right? I mean, it's done. But how do you, how does somebody who should care, if their kid's in public school, how do they do that? Because you see how much love they got from the FBI, right? I mean, domestic terror. Yeah. I mean, that could be a little wild, to go there and say, hey, I don't want this taught, critical race theory, and then you're now targeted by the FBI.
It's a little tough, but it's your kid.
Yeah.
But
see, but I just say, it's like, all right, I'm a terrorist. I'm gone.
I think it reminds me of the verse in Proverbs 31, to defend those who can't defend themselves. These are kids who their parents are drug addicts, and they're sending them to a school because they can't afford anything else. And these kids, it's kind of like just doing our part as much as they can to not be indoctrinated, even though they're not our own kids. So it's a hard balance, because for me, I don't even have kids, so it's hard to even think about it. But
But I'm
we
saying,
see the effects of it because of youth groups. So I see
Yeah.
it because of like the public schools. Like a lot of our kids go to Marana, and so and like you got CDO and like different ones. So you see how it's affecting them, and not like we're fixing them, but kind of like they're coming to us with the questions like, what do I do?
But Mariah, let's be real. Even the Christian schools
Yeah, definitely.
were very liberal.
Yeah, private schools.
I had to deal with, I won't say names because I'm trying
even
to
charter
be
schools
nice,
that we know.
but the Christian school they went to, I pulled them from because they were kind of pro-homosexual, even critical race, right? Even Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is Christian school. This is the, I mean, it's right on Oracle. Forgive you. And I mean, I'm just going, where I fought huge and talked to principals, say, you know, this is a Christian school where we do believe in biblical. It's not like talking to a CDO principal. I'm like, this is your Christian school. And that was, well, we just love people. Okay. But love people enough to say what the Bible says, because you're saying you have a biblical worldview. And even that, I got blackballed. I got hated because I was, I mean, I wasn't called a homophobe, but I was basically just a legalistic, critical pastor. And I'm just like going, so that's why I go, if I got static from a Christian school, I can't imagine what CDO would do with me.
Yeah. So
shoot me.
But I mean, you could, if you go to the meetings though, you can certainly determine which of the board members should be voted out.
Yeah.
So
like
that's
Charlie Kirk with his wife. You remember that when she just sat there? That was great.
Yeah.
What did she do? A moment of silence for the kid that committed suicide or something? Remember that? She sat there and she said, she had 2 minutes. She says, let's just sit here. And then one guy started laughing. He goes, why are you laughing at a kid dying? And, you know, please focus. I want you to, and I was like, whoa. She was, Erica was really nailing it.
Yeah. So, and sometimes they listen. If you can do it even a little bit at a time, get 2 out this time, 2 out the next time, you can turn things around. When you only have one person that's on the side of more conservative values, even, it's hard. You can't outvote anybody.
Yeah.
So you have to get the majority.
And I think it's all about intimidation too, and that's why you said we need more people to step up in groups, because it's like, you know, the FBI coming after you, and then the 87 IRS agents. Who do you think they're going to go after? I think they're going after liberals, right? I mean, it's like, Jack Hibbs just said, I have lawyers on retainer. I have tax lawyers ready to go for when I'm audited, you know. And it's just like, I don't know if you remember Rush Limbaugh left New York, and they audited him like 3 years in a row. And he said, and then one senator, I forget who it was, liberal senator, said, if we knew it was that easy to get you out, we'd have audited you a lot sooner. So, I mean, that's just, you know, I mean, and that was how many years ago? 10 something years, 15 years ago. Yeah. I mean, wow. I mean, I always have to go, we are still in America, right? I did like somehow slip into Siberia or Russia, you know. I'm like, this is, you know, but it happened on our watch because too many people just were quiet, you know, instead of, you know, and I'm amazed, like I said, I'm amazed at how my liberal family that was libertarians, live and let live, hippies, has now become the man. And they're trying to push their agenda to where I have to swallow it and say, yes, I will comply or die. You know, and I don't, that's what I say, do your thing. You can do your thing. I mean, you have the right to vote what you want. You have the right to say what you want, but why, as I always was told, that university means universal truth, meaning you take the best collective truths and the best truth wins. Whatever happened to that? You know, because when you let these people debate, they're usually spanked hard by people like Charlie Kirk because they don't have a good point. They're just like, well, you know, I want this because I want, you know what I mean? They'll just cry, and it's like, well, but why does everyone have to have this agenda?
Yeah. And the hope that we can have is like every time there is a major revival was like in a time of like
hardship.
Great hardship. And so it's a difficult time, but again, that's why we should be excited that we have the freedom to vote and we can, you know, and
people are getting tired of it. I mean, I just heard Bill Maher saying liberals are voting conservative because they're just saying we're going too far. So we have, the thing I stand on with this is to bring it biblically, is I believe it's, now I'm not sure, it's Romans 5:20, where sin abounds, grace abounds much more. We have to believe that God's always going to have a remnant. He's always going to pull. It might seem like we're losing, but there's always people. I mean, me, if you had seen me, I was a hippie. I mean, you would have said there's no way this guy is going to ever be anything except go to jail or die. And yet God reached out of the miry pit and pulled me out. And nobody had, it's so funny, Shirl, nobody had to tell me, hey, you're a Christian now. You have to be conservative. You have to vote. I hated Reagan because I was taught as a hippie, he's going to push the button. He's old. He doesn't know it. And and I don't know why I hate him. I just was told, hate Reagan. And I hated him. But then I got saved. All of a sudden, I love Reagan.
Yep.
How did I love Reagan? Because God changed my nature, my heart.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I realized, wait a second, all this stuff my family told me is nuts. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. You know, like my aunt, I got to tell you a story about liberals. My aunt believed, she was psychology, and she said, basically people are good, and if you give a child long enough time, they'll make the right decision. And she always say it with passion and tears. So I don't know how old I was. I was pretty young. I think I was a freshman in high school. I stole like a $3,000 bike. This is back in the 70s. So it would be like a $10,000 bike today, maybe more. And I stole the bike. It was just laying out in the back of a bike shop. I had my friend's pickup. I threw it in the back. I want to sell it for, a couple $100, maybe. I don't know what. And my aunt goes, she was my parent. She says, Craig, you have two decisions. She goes, where'd you get that bike? I go, I stole it. Because it was just be honest. I didn't, and I said, I stole it. And she goes, okay, you have two choices. You can either keep that bike or return that bike. What choice are you going to make? And I go, keeping it. And she goes, wrong choice. And she made me return it. I'm going, why did you tell me I had a choice if I didn't have, but that's a liberal thing because she was hoping that I would make the right choice. But she always told me how good I was. I go,
right.
I'm not good.
There's no good in us.
So one thing that came out of COVID that was good was that the parents woke up.
Yes, a lot of them.
A lot of them did. They saw what their kids were being taught.
Yes.
And they just all of a sudden became very involved and started investigating, what is the curriculum and what do I need to do to change things, and why are they making these decisions to keep school closed and forcing masks on kids when it's hard to do when all day long and stuff like that. So that was kind of good, but
and
the results,
science, which we found out wasn't science.
Yeah, but the results were bad for the students because now they're behind. They lost ground. Yeah. I mean, you probably have seen the signs about AMPHI 40% can only read at the grade level.
Yep.
So, and that's right off Arizona Department of Education website. So,
Yep.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, it's just like I said, back to importance of voting. I'm trying not to talk, but I have to say this. But like when Rand Paul interviewed Fauci a couple weeks or whatever, I don't know how long ago it was, but he said, so natural immunity, you said in 2006 that someone's grandmother had flu and, she has natural immunity. She doesn't need to take the flu shot. She's fine for this flu season. But then he says in all your literature on COVID, you've never once mentioned natural immunity, never once. And he says, could that be because you're taking millions of dollars from all these drug companies? And he goes, how much have you gotten? He goes, none of your business. And he goes, when we take the House and hopefully the Senate, we're going to make a law that you have to disclose how much you take. I mean, again, how can you do that? And then he said, he didn't say it in front of Fauci, but he said that doctors would not speak out against Fauci about COVID, his so-called science, because he holds funding too for researchers. So he'll pull. How do we let one man, I thought we had checks and balances. How do we let one man make $490,000 a year and be so powerful? And he's making, so he's not just getting his $490, he's also being able to not say the truth because he's going to get millions of dollars. And back to what I say, find out where the money's to be made. And by the way, how do we not have a law in place or checks and balances to say, wait a second, you can't be taking money off the side for that, but it's none of your business. And I'm like, wow. I mean, I just think, what's it like to be a senator or a congressman when people just go, pretty much flip them off and say, I'm not telling you, I don't care. Right. I'm just thinking, you just emasculated. I mean, poor Rand Paul. I mean, he's a doctor, he's a smart man, and he's basically, I'm not answering. And I'm thinking, how come they can't? That's what I get so bad at, how he can't say, oh, yes, you're going to answer me. I'm going to indict you and you're going to go to jail. Yeah. But those days are gone.
Yeah. And
there's no fear of Congress or.
No, not now. But maybe we turn things around.
Yeah, hopefully that frustration. Because when I see that stuff, I'm just like, when there's when there's lawlessness, then people run rampant. It's like the days of Noah. People did what's right in their own eyes. I mean, what kept me from going off the reservation, because I was a bad guy before Jesus, was fear of jail or death penalty. There was fear of retribution. But now, golly, I mean, I don't know what I'd be like if I was a criminal today. I'd probably be, I don't know what I'd be. But there was fear. I mean, there was fear. When I heard it was an 18-year-old, 2 months old, I'm going to 9 years of federal prison. I didn't get convicted, but that's what woke me up to turn to Jesus. But now I'd probably be let off on with no bail. No kidding. So.
And yeah, I want to just read this. It's the thing that says vote your values. And I think it's cool. It says solve inflation, secure border, election integrity, school choice, medical freedom, energy independence, gun rights, back the police, free speech, pro-life. Those are all yes for conservatives. But liberals, those are all no. And then the thing that's yes for them is kill live birth babies. And it's like, that's another thing. We did a podcast with Laura Patterson, who's in charge of our pro-life ministry at the church. That's another thing. You see it all over, I don't know, just commercials and things of like, oh, they're dangerous. Like all these conservatives are so dangerous. And so what would you see? I think
ripping a baby's arms off in the womb is dangerous.
Yeah, what would you see when we have a lot of the conservatives who are on the ballot who are being told they're dangerous because of that? How would you respond?
Well, I think most of them are grounded enough to know that that's the media.
Yeah, that's stupid.
I hope people do. Yeah.
Yeah, you hope.
So, and they'll fight back. I mean, most of them will stand on their positions and won't back down. Others will try to squirm their way out of it, but or
true.
they won't show up for debates or things like that. But those that have the good story.
Carrie Lake is scary.
Yeah.
Scary.
We had her on. She was really nice.
Yeah. And so what would you say? So I know Pastor Jack Hibbs, he had mentioned the people who are on the ballot, and then he just talked about them. Like, this person is, what would you say about that? Do you think that is right to do? Can you do that? Or how would you say going about that for people when they're like, let's just say someone's in the, at church, and they're like, oh, so who are you voting for? Or I'm voting for this person because of this. Do you just not talk, or can you talk about that? Freedom of speech, but again,
I'm not a lawyer.
Well, from my standpoint, anybody that asks me how I'm going to vote, I'm happy to tell them and share what information I know and why, because I'm involved in different organizations and I have heard most of the candidates speak at least twice. So, and I've heard them, heard their positions. I know what they're talking about. They take questions from the audience, so it's not like anything's a setup. So I feel comfortable when I finally make my decision that it's the best that I can do.
Yeah.
Remember what we always say, and people say, when Romney was running against Obama, I just can't vote for a Mormon. And I love what David Barton said, as long as Jesus is not, he goes, I can't vote for, he says, as long as Jesus is not on the ballot, you're always voting for the lesser of two evils. I mean, like I said, but my liberal aunt says, how can you, when she said Clinton, what he does in his bedroom is his business. You don't, what his sex life. But then when Clinton, or when Trump ran, she goes, how can you vote for an adulterer? How can, I go, whatever happened to the same thing that Clinton? And then I said, okay, lesser two, I said, my guy, I mean, what at least is proposed, that he maybe had sex with a stripper or a porn star, or whatever. But she actually liked him, she said. She said he was a really nice guy. He took very good care of me. I said, your guy rapes people and his wife defends it. So I said, lesser of two evils. I said, Trump would never date my daughter. He'd never be an elder. And he would never, but I said, we're not voting for that. I'm voting for him to be, I know, and that kind of goes against your, but I said, the lesser of two evils. And didn't Trump seriously shock us? I mean, I was expecting very little. And even what Glenn Beck was like, I was wrong. I was wrong. But I mean, remember, it was like never Trumper. And he blew our minds. I mean, I thought because, his daughter's friends with Hillary or Chelsea Clinton, I thought they're going to be rhinos. They're going to get in and then flip. And, but I think he was as good as Reagan, if not almost better. And so he got so much done.
Yep. He was a businessman, and he would have gotten so much more done if they didn't constantly attack everything and twist things.
Yeah.
So, and here we are 2 years later, and look where we're at.
Yeah. Sad. Yeah. And it truly, back, that's what I said, you said it, businessman. He gets things. And I met Trump twice at the hotel. I mean, I didn't hang out and have lunch, don't get me wrong, but I dealt with him. And when he came to Ventana in 86, and this was right when everyone's like, this is a billionaire. And there's only like 6 billionaires, I think, at that time in 86. Now there's a billion billionaires, but he goes, he's a billionaire. And I'm like, who's this orange-haired guy? I didn't know, you know what I mean? And he's got this weird talking wife, you know, I don't remember his wife. Which one was that? Ivanka's mom, but the one who just died. But, and he just commanded, he was just like, hey, we're doing this. And he was very polite, but he's just boom, boom, boom. And I go, did the hotel just got bought out? I mean, I truly thought he's our new owner because he was took such, and so I go, that's why someone like a Pelosi, hates his guts, because he's just like, he gets things done. And I mean, and he was always nice to me. Hey, Craig, how you doing? But he was a mover and a shake. I mean, let's just think about it. Let's make a decision quickly. And I'm trying to learn because I'm a perfectionist, but I think Trump's like this. Better to make a good decision today than a great decision tomorrow. I mean, sometimes as a leader, you got to react a little. You can't sit back like a lot of our Congress and Senate takes forever to vote on things. And, sometimes, and you can always adjust, right? I mean, but let's do forward motion. Let's do something positive.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So before we get into like more of the resources and stuff, yes. Let's just a little recap. How and when should they submit their ballots? And how are you feeling about the ballot? That's a no personal question, but how are you feeling? Do you feel solid, or like it's a good group of people that you are voting for, that you feel pretty confident? Or
I think we stand a real good chance this time, as long as the elections are fair.
Yeah.
And we only have legal votes counted.
Are you election denier? I love that. Carrie Lake is election denier.
So I think we have some bold candidates, and if they do what they say they're going to do, we're going to be in good shape in Arizona.
Because some people said about Carrie Lake that she was kind of liberal and soft on things. So, but she said right here on our show, and I mean, take it at face value, but she said, I was raised in a Christian home, right? I think, remember?
Catholic?
No, she was Presbyterian, I think. But raised, but whatever. She was not just raised, but it really didn't take.
Right.
And then she said, I just pretty much got in my career and I forgot God, but said my husband and
COVID woke him up.
Really, she said COVID woke up. I saw the insanity, like you said, and we started going to a little community church, I think, a little kind of Baptist community. And she says, now I really realized the importance of having God in my life. And it seemed pretty sincere to me,
At least she was honest. And
and she said, she goes, I haven't
she
really
was a strong Christian.
Yeah.
I have never. She goes, I kind of just was busy, didn't doing my own thing. And some people say, I forget what she was soft on before. I don't know. She wasn't pro. Was she pro? What was she soft on? Do you know?
She gave her money to Obama.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, that's pretty, But she says she just saw, and she got instead of being woke, she got woke up to be conservative. So hopefully she'll be like Trump and really surprise us. Well, I because I tend to be a little bold. I always love that. I love what she said to the CNN reporter. Goes, hey, I want to interview. And she goes, yes, I want to be interviewed by you too. But you got to promise me if I do the interview, I got to be on CNN Plus. Oh, that's right. It's no longer. I love that. I was like, oh my goodness. Even whoa. But she's like, oh, that's right. You don't have it. Sorry. She walked away.
And I know that we don't have a lot of time here. 10 minutes past or 12. But also with the props and like, what do people do with that? Because I know I didn't put that as a question, but I feel like when I see those, I get like overwhelmed, and I'm like, I don't know what is what, but
and they always word them so. Sometimes they word them so hard that I really understand.
You're like,
the propositions are also in this Arizona Voter Guide, and they actually provide. This is done by Nonpartisan Center for Arizona Policy. This page,
Kathy Herring.
Yeah, and they make recommendations on here. Some of the things are like
we have those on the.
Yes, they're in the
lobby.
foyer. Support a ballot initiative, so it's only a single subject. That's a good thing. If you have too many things in, which is what they do in D.C., put so many things in, and then you can't figure it out. So this way, it's one subject goes into this measure, and then another one is on giving.
So they're doing that to where you can't have multiple. Yeah.
Not for bills, but for this. If you have a ballot initiative, if you go out and get petition signatures signed because you want a certain item put on the ballot to change the Constitution, it can only say one thing. It's only be for one thing. And then they also there's one on here to give anybody, regardless of immigration status, give them taxpayer-funded college rates, tuition rates. So that actually they're recommending no on that one. So they do give good direction.
But did you have anything else you want to share? Any resources? So we have My Faith Votes, Arizona Voter Guide. Anything else?
There is one other one that is called biblicalvoter.com. And they will give you an Arizona voter guide. You put your state in and it'll give you that. And it has various Christian ones. Center for Arizona Policy is on there, ivoterguide.com, christianvoterguide.com. Right to Life Victory Fund. So there's some other, Christian sources in addition to My Faith Votes, which I like to look at that one.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll link all those down below so you guys can check those out in the description. Shirl, again, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
Helped us throughout the years with all this, so thank you. And if you guys have any questions, make sure to comment them down below. If you haven't already, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. If you like to listen to us wherever you get your podcast, just type in Calvary Conversations. You can also follow us on Instagram at Calvary Conversations. And again, check out all the descriptions down below for all the resources. Make sure to, if you want to do early voting, today's the 25th, but 25th on or 24th on till November 8th. And we will see you at the poll. We are going to be praying as a church. And so I think on November 6th, we'll be showing the video, encouraging you guys to vote, and then praying. So make sure you guys are praying. And we also have our website, calvaryconversations.com, that you can check out. And if you would like to support this podcast, it's a listener supported, you can do that in the description below that says donate. Thanks so much, guys, and God bless.